Hello and welcome to Raising Anchor, your podcast and source for all things Rhode Island FC. This is your Monday mailbag for June 30th, 2025. And as a special guest, in the spirit of continuing to have guests on, we couldn't think of a better person to bring along for the ride than none other than ShadowWulf himself. Not only is he a proud member of the Portland Hearts of Pine, he also has his own podcast called Fallen Leaves, a main podcast that covers the Hearts of Pine in everything possible that goes on up there with our USL 1 team to the north. And he's also a big fan of Rhode Island FC, having followed our journey along before his team was created. Jason Carey is in the co-pilot seat, but ShadowWulf, this one is for you. How are you doing, my friend? And tell us a little about yourself and the podcast.
Okay, first of all, good morning from Germany, as it's now 1:30 a.m. here. The easy answer is I'm a US soccer fan for over 17 years right now. Watched everything from grassroots like the local Cosmo League in New York till the big stages of MLS. Never really was a fan of, could say, not hashtag an MLS podcast, so more the lower leagues. Became an OKC SG member back in the day. The club died. I somehow became tangled with the RGV Toros, became an SG member, even a media member there. There I started my first English solo podcast about the Toros. As you all know, the Toros died. And when the first announcements about the Hearts of Pine were, I started my Fallen Leaves, the main podcast, which was the first Hearts of Pine dedicated podcast. And since then, I'm covering the team on a weekly basis. And as you already mentioned, watching the lovely Boys in Amber and Blue since game one. And I'm happy to be here.
Pleasure is all ours. I didn't realize how many clubs you've seen kind of come by the wayside and then disappear. Good thing, I guess, you didn't become a Memphis 901 fan, because people would start to have talked that maybe you were the problem. So good to know that didn't happen.
I mean, I heard that before already, that I'm like the bad apple in the tree. So right now, I just think I came to clubs which were already, let's say, poisoned and nearly deaf, but you couldn't see it in the time of days. Right now, I am there since day one with a new club, so the bad apple can't be there already. So I'm just hoping our tree will grow and be happy for long years to come.
Love the metaphor there, and I agree. I don't think the Portland Hearts of Pine are going to go anywhere but up.
Yeah, they seem to have a really good, solid ownership, a good setup, and honestly a great fan base out there. So I don't think they're one of those clubs that anyone's going to have to worry about.
I mean, Hartford's going to have to worry when they promote themselves to championship and then surpass them. We'll already be up in Division 1, so we'll wait for you guys to catch up to us up at the top flight. How about that? So let's jump into this then, starting off with some overall just fan impressions, and then we'll get into ours. The fans today, this is a light mailbag. Going to be honest, everyone's out celebrating and partying and just getting back to good summer vibes. So Jason, let's walk through the few comments we got and then talk about our overall thoughts on the game.
Yeah, Sean here saying, you have been ordained in the art of goal scoring. Go into the league and show them your newfound talent.
I mean, it was one person. I agree. We're going to talk about it a little bit at length for sure. Legendary 606 writes in, hope this jump starts Dequa and the goals start to flow. I mean, this is the moment you want, but, curious about this because we went into this game a bit concerned. Some questions were on the table. Lots of fans thought we should get the win because it's a championship side against a USL 1 side. But for all intent and purpose, what we've seen these two teams line up as this season, these have always been hard-fought battles, irregardless of the actual result at the end of the match. Shadow, we'll start with you. What was your overall impression of the game as you watched it? And did you have any conflict of interest because you love both of these teams?
First of all, yes, I do. Like yesterday, only 2 days ago, I was really struggling, to be honest, because on the one hand, as you said, I'm a Hearts of Pine SG member. I'm a Dirigo Uni member. I'm loving the team from deep in my heart. On the other hand, I support Rhode Island, and I really hate to see them struggle. But if there's one game I really don't want to see them winning high and mighty, it was probably this one. But in the end, I have to say this match was clearly a deserved win for Rhode Island. But maybe I'm a bit controversial here, but I think it was a gifted one too, because our starting 11 was heavily rotated. We played in a, could say, near system, at least according to the USA League One website, and misused players in positions where they are not really fond of playing. Like, for example, you saw Jake Keegan running down the left wing while he's the classical number 9, which we really could have used in this match or in general. So to make it short, when I saw the starting 11, I had a bad feeling about this. And when I saw your Voodoo tweet or your Voodoo talk in your preview episode that your offense is struggling, I was like, okay, we will see goals galore by Rhode Island. And then, yeah, it happened. So to make it short, I think a bad starting 11, if you really wanted to win this game, misused players, which were a reason for not doing the whole thing. And in the end, I think our team wanted more to focus on the League One. So we were never really into this game and just were like bystanders. And you clearly saw that our B-string players were not up to the task to the big guys of Rhode Island.
Do you see it as an opportunity because you haven't gotten the amount of points that you need in the regular season that Murphy had to prioritize the midweek match over this game? Because it's obviously difficult, and I know that Portland is setting up their own homestand here now, playing so many games at Fitzpatrick over the next couple of months. But you also have it. You were in it up until this moment and had a chance to actually earn some hardware here in the very first stages. Now that door's probably closing for the club. You look at it in the stance of, is this a bad decision from a priority, or did Murphy get this right? And the main objective is always to try to place and do well in the league.
I would say I'm a bit difficult to the most of our Hearts of Pine fans. When I was watching the game live and saw on the Dirigo Union Discord, like nearly everyone seemed to agree with the decision to Bobby that we should prioritize the league and say this is more important. I disagree to that, because if we would be, let's say, 2-3 games left out to the playoffs, one could say a bad league game could have placed us outside of the playoffs, and it would make sense to not play our best 11 against you. But we are still 4 months, I believe, shy to the end of the regular season, and we have 2 league games in 1 week. So I think even if we would have played in our A squad against you, which would be my preferred option, even a B squad loss against AD Alta on Wednesday wouldn't be that difficult, because on Saturday we could beat Tormentor and get back. And like I said, we still had like 3-4 months of games going in. So I can understand the reason behind Murphy's decision, but I'm not a fan of it, and I don't really like that. So in my personal opinion, I think it was a mistake, because it would be a perfect way to get more hype into your team, maybe a bit of silverware. But I think I'm one of the lonely guys who are disagreeing with that.
Jason, what were your thoughts on the match overall?
It was great to see 4 goals at home. We've had a bit of a rough go at it this year, so to finally feel like we can just kind of have fun and celebrate and enjoy this club was great. I have some reservations to say like we're so back or anything, but like it's great to get that win. At this point, we're pretty much securing ourselves in the next round. Still a very important game against second place in the group, Hartford, at the end of this group stages. But overall, it was a great time.
I agree with that. I think if anything, this game can serve at least as a catalyst that they can string that many goals along, that they can find their offensive prowess when needed. It hasn't necessarily been the results, and I know with the losses that have been starting to tally in the regular season performances, it doesn't feel good that we're converting less and less of those draws now, and unfortunately they're going into the L column. But I think that this is that moment where, from a perspective of 2 of the players that needed goals, Well, they got their goals in this match, and we've seen both of these players in Chico and in Noah Fuson, where when they're not in the right headspace, they can go weeks without solid performances. Now we see this opportunity. I think Coach said it a few interviews ago, but it's like adding jet fuel, right? Like what does filling the tank with octane 91 do for them now? And is this going to be just the lift that Noah Fuson needs in his confidence? Is this going to be just the thing that starts Chico on a path to, get at least 10 goals this season and get a double-digit performance? It's not so much the result. It's not so much the competition, not to insult the Hearts of Pine, but this is a game that Rhode Island FC should have thoroughly won when you talk about the level of competition. And at that standpoint, when we had to talk last week and say, hey, like, we're not sure if they have this in them right now, this is more signs that maybe the ship is righting itself. And this is a possible, to your point, we're not back yet. Let's not pretend we are. But these are the results you have to go out and get. Much like when we said we should lose the Revolution during the Open Cup, it goes the other direction now. And I think Rhode Island FC went out and they did what they had to do. And it was a big moment. It was a huge moment. Before we move on, Shadow, the other thing I want to ask about the Hearts of Pine overall is when you look at how they're doing this season. I had an interesting conversation with a fan of Portland after the game. When we started in the league, we were the only expansion team out here in the East that, we didn't have anyone that was being compared to in the year. We kind of got to write our own rules in the playbook. North Carolina FC came back into the league, but they weren't like a true new team. This year, you have, I think, 4 or 5 net new teams playing with you in the USL 1 between not Texoma, sorry. Is it Texoma? Yeah, Texoma, Westchester, AV Alta, and I think there's one other that I can't forget.
Naples.
There we go, Naples. With that many new teams, is there a little bit more pressure to not just do good in your first year, but to make sure you're not a bad team amongst the new, crop of graduates into the league?
Like from my perspective, I don't get really the feeling that our club is, could say, comparing themselves to the other new teams. I certainly know that our Hearts of Pine fans are doing that and compare the home fans, the stands with our team and our stadium. In my personal opinion, yeah, there should be pressure because you see a different amount of roster builds in the new teams, like Westchester getting many Dutch players or big name players in. Texoma has a bunch of random guys, but also legends like Solomon Asante. Naples got the best goalie of the league with Delgado. So you saw a couple of different approaches of roster building. And with us having mostly college kids, some players with a lower league European experience, I think there was at least a tiny pressure to see how we can stand and dance with them. And looking on the standings right now, we are, just before Westchester of the new teams. Every other new team is in front of us. So Texoma is in the playoff rankings right now, Naples is in the playoff rankings, and AV Alta. We are currently on the 10th spot, so below the playoff line, and Westchester is the second to worst team. Obviously, not every team played the same amount of games. Obviously, we still have many of home games left, but just looking on the standings right now, today, I would agree to that, and we have at least a tiny bit of pressure, or we at least should have, in my eyes.
Fantastic. And I think that's a well, positioned stance. I know that competition amongst fan bases is intense. I've witnessed that not just in soccer now, but in rugby this weekend. And so seeing that, I think that makes perfect sense. Before we jump into it, so we got to address the elephant in the room here. Big moment in the game yesterday, and it wasn't something that happened on the pitch. It was something that happened off of the pitch, so much so that it got picked up by kind of all of the main football media content out there. Men in Blazers reposted it, but and in ShadowWulf, you were the first to send it to us. You'd post it as well right away. But Connor Smith observed in his Batman pose, watching over the game from the rooftop of Centerville Bank Stadium. Very interesting moment. Jason, we're going to talk about what happened, but first and foremost, have you ever seen a moment like that in the history of watching soccer where the manager just goes up and stands and towers over the game and gets the ultimate view?
I've seen managers get sent off and try and hide somewhere in the stadium or whatever to like watch the game, but I don't think I've ever seen a manager stand on top of like the control tower like that. That was legendary there.
Shadow, what was going through your mind when you saw that?
I had to chuckle, honestly. Like, I was like, okay, was Kano sent off with like 2 yellow cards in like 2 minutes? Like, let's say the dying minute of the first half, and like immediately when coming back out of the locker room. And then when the camera panned onto him on the roof, I was just chuckling and smiling about that. And yeah, he got a really big entourage a few minutes later, and it just looked funny. So it's already meme material. It's already part of Jäger Cup history. I like it. It's silly, but I would also say it's a nice viewpoint to watch a match from a coaching or scouting perspective. So bird's eye view from the big bird of Rhode Island.
Yeah, and I mean, so I ran into him in the elevator going up, and I was surprised because he just comes off of my right shoulder. Jason and I are about to go up into the press box, and he's just standing there, and I'm thinking, well, you're not supposed to be here of all places right now. And the elevator door opens, and he's got a security escort and one of the technical members or one of the front office staff for the stadium grounds. And the door opens, and I go, do you need that elevator yourself? Do you want that time? And he goes, Matt, you do whatever you want. It just gets in, and the security's like, don't follow us. So 5 seconds later, you give us the picture. We thought he was up in one of the broadcast booths. We didn't know he went all the way up to the roof where they filmed the analytics for the match.
Yeah, I was confused. I didn't realize he got sent off. I was like, does that elevator go to the bottom? Is he like running late, or like what's going on here?
I'm pretty sure you did you where's the secret floor underneath the concourse? I'm pretty sure he had to climb a fire ladder to get up to the roof. The elevator doesn't go to the roof, obviously, right? That's not how elevators work. So just the idea of thinking Kano had to climb up a fire ladder to go watch the rest of the game is priceless. Now, we can talk about what actually happened in the match. People were speculating it was a straight red. People were saying it was for, the official stance from the report is that it was for, abusive language. And, everyone's like, well, what did he say? So we did talk to the staff after the game. We interviewed Coach McKay, which you'll see here in a second, since Kano was not eligible to talk after the game with his red card send off. But we are able to get some of the information. And so first and foremost, the problem stems around Kano's opinion of the ref. And if you know Coach Kano for one game or all of the games, he's a very opinionated person. He loves to let it be known what his thoughts are. And if you've ever watched an away game, those mics are hot, and it is a fun time to hear the mind of Kano Smith. But what was told to us was that after the half had ended, he went up to the ref and had talked to the ref about not inserting themselves into the match as a main character. He didn't agree with the ref's ability to start and stop play and keeping things really slow whenever Rhode Island FC had a foul, or and it wasn't an advantage, but whenever they had the opportunity to keep up a higher tempoed match. And as a result, the ref continued to insert himself into it. And then not only did he slow it down, but in Kano's opinion, he was kind of lecturing or overly talking to the players to explain his decisions, which further added time in, not getting Rhode Island FC back on the forefront. They didn't think also that the ref was being fair in how he administered the game against Rhode Island FC, and that, it seemed like maybe they thought it could have been like they were speculating, like, is this just an attack on Rhode Island? Obviously, the ref has their own feelings on how they manage the game. Kano didn't agree with it. So on his way out of off the pitch into the locker room, he got his first yellow card. 15 minutes go by, and he's getting ready to walk with the team back out. Kano said something to the degree of, remember what we said, let's have a good second half, and don't slow my team down. And the ref did not appreciate Kano coming back and reopening the conversation and gave him a second yellow. Could that conversation have been a lot uglier and a little bit more colorful, knowing Kano's love of language? Possibly. Could it have been abusive? We won't know unless someone comes forward. But we can at least say that the reasons behind it was that Kano had no faith that this ref had administered a game where he wasn't letting the flow of the match happen naturally. Jason, we've seen refs at length do this in these kinds of games. We've seen Rhode Island not happy with that. We've seen Kano almost never happy with a ref's performance. Did this happen? Like, should he have gotten a second yellow, not knowing what he said in terms of the the context, just knowing what he was trying to get across to the ref. I mean, if he said other things, if he if there was name calling, that's a different line. But should a coach be sent off like that between the half at the beginning and then the end and not being able to administer the game? Because now he's out for El Clamico in the Jägermeister Cup match, which now with Hartford's draw, it has serious table stakes for the club.
You don't want, refs get a lot of abuse, right? And I think in some way maybe there needs to be a better system in regards to like refs' performances, but at the end of the day, it's a very tough job, and there is a reality of, because of the money in the league, like we don't have the best refs. I mean, people complain about the refs in the biggest league in the bigger leagues like England and whatnot, but I think maybe this just have to be like a lesson for Kano, in the sense that I understand his frustration. We've all been there. We've been a lot upset with the refs as well too. I personally don't think this one was that egregious, in a sense of I've seen worse reffing performances. Maybe also we were just winning and it just wasn't nitpicking things as much, but it's unfortunate. But if he really did kind of like lash out at him there, I think that it's probably fair.
Shadow, have you ever seen a ref eject or a head coach ejection of that nature before?
I would say on USL level, not sure. You see sometimes ejection after, let's say, heated conversation, which is just a straight red, but not like not like we've seen at this point. But as you already said, the refs are, let's say, discussable in the league. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. I'm just surprised that at the time of my Hearts of Pine, we didn't saw anything with Bobby Murphy. Like, he had a couple of yellow cards without getting sent off. And I'm surprised with my time at the RGV Toros that Rima Cabrera was never sent off at the time, because he was really a heated guy on and offside the pitch. And he got a yellow and he had some rants on the press conferences back in the day. But like with Kano, I never saw that. And it's funny, but as you already said, Kano's doing Kano things. He has to, he wants to, and we love him for that.
Do we think he'll learn from this? Because obviously Kano, he fights for his team. He fights for the guys. I don't want to see that passion go away, but do we think that this is that moment that he needed? Because this is his first job as a head coach, where it's more than we need you for the next game as well. And this is, in my opinion, this was avoidable. I will say that. If he was already on a first yellow, we all thought it was a straight red. The indications, the reports say that it's a straight red, but from what we've heard, from what happened inside that tunnel, if it's a 2 yellow, do you think he learns okay, I'll get away with it up until the moment I can, and then I need to be able to stop at that point? Or do you think we're going to see more of Kano just being Kano?
I think Kano will still do Kano, but in the same sense, like you said, I think that maybe he'll realize he'll need to reel it in a little bit. If he gets to that line and they give him the yellow, maybe he'll need to just kind of back down and, let it go to a certain extent. I mean, I think he'll always still be vocal and, like you said, fight for his team and call out things that he feels maybe are egregious or are not hindering the flow of the game. But maybe if it turns out that he, said some things, maybe he'll realize maybe next time I gotta calm it down a little bit there.
Agreed. So let's go into the interviews now with a interview-less Coach Kano, since he was not allowed, and instead assistant coach Dave McKay got to step up. And Dave's a great sport, but Dave's not someone that usually wants to be in there. And I think 90% of the questions were about Coach Kano, so he didn't even get the pleasure of really talking as much about the team and the commanding win that they got on the night here. So here's Coach McKay.
Yeah, obviously positive result for us. Something that we needed. They've come here and they've rotated, so there's a team in front of us that we have to beat, and we did. So we'll kick on from now.
So what happened with Coach? Just talk to me about the conversations as much as you can. What happened going into the tunnel, coming out of the tunnel there? What was the issue with the referees?
I wasn't there, so I can't really comment too much. I know he got a yellow card at halftime. Just the conversation with the referee was we wanted to speed up the game. You know, they were slowing it down every time there was a throw in, as a free kick, goal kick. They would slow it down, and he was asking the referee to speed it up. And I guess they didn't.
Was there a specific moment in the game where you guys noticed because it seemed like at the beginning of the game you guys had a lot of flow and tempo.
Yeah.
When did the game start to slow down, do you think?
No, it was from the start. From
the start.
Yeah, like on their half, on their part, you know.
Sure.
So when that's how we felt. So he was just asking them to
clear to you that Connor was sent off and you'd be taking over?
right before the kickoff. Yeah, because I went out ahead of him, so I missed everything. Because I went out to see if they'd made any changes, any substitutions. So yeah, right there.
Who told you the fourth official?
No, our admin, Jason. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did the tempo change in the second half at all, or was it the same issues?
No, I mean, not really. But you know, we go ahead now. Their tempo is going to speed up a bit because they're going to try and come back into it. But yeah, so.
All right, obviously the big story tonight. Chico gets the first hat trick here.
Yeah.
Big night for him.
Yeah.
What do you think about his performance?
Yeah, very good, very good. It's been there. We've been waiting for it. Puts it in every single day, and now he's reaping.
Chico took some responsibility in practice yesterday, saying that some of the fault and the personal responsibility felt like he was letting the team down. Obviously, he goes and gets this hat trick now. What have you been working on with him to improve his game so that he can feel like he's in a better place to be able to score like this?
Yeah, just consistency, and we're just trying to get him the ball in the areas where he scores, which is between the posts. So just more time on deliveries into the box and runs in the box, and we've spent, you know, we put a lot more emphasis on that, and it showed tonight.
How did you set up tactically to support that? It's a big difference between last week's game and this one. What were those differentiations that you saw? Obviously, the lineup is injury-stricken. How did you make those tactical adjustments to support that?
Yeah, just we've talked about just being a little bit more pragmatic, being a little bit more direct, trying to play in the opposition's half a little more than our half, and when that happens, you can create more chances. So that was the big piece.
The substitutions that were made, were they something that you had talked about before the game with Connor, or was that something you made on your own? Or how did those decisions come together, how to approach the second half?
Yeah, we talked about it before, and we had an idea going into it, and where our players need to come on, and who needs a bit of rest, so yeah, this is kind of pre-planned.
Coach, how did this team set up to take on this New England side? Obviously, there's the connection to Hartford Athletic. There was the previous match against the Revolution in the Open Cup. But you've seen this Hearts of Pine side now 3 times. This is the 4th one. How did that stake into this, not only the Jägermeister Cup, but overall the New England soccer rivalries that are starting to kind of flourish here in the area?
Yeah, we knew exactly what we were going to get. Now, we didn't expect some of the lineup changes that they had, but we did. We know what they're about. Myself and Cano actually worked with Bobby before, so we know what Bobby's about. We know how he wants his teams to play, and then yeah, they've. Yeah, well, I mean, we were ready for it.
But does this win mean any more because it's a New England lineup matchup, or is it just another win? It's another way to advance in the Jägermeister round.
I think it's just another win. I mean, maybe for the fans, maybe for the people that are here, but for us, we had a job to do, and we did the job.
Noah had a pretty dynamic night. It seemed like he was finding space. He was really able just to move pretty freely, and with the goal, it kind of felt like we saw the Noah of last year a little bit.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on his night?
Yeah, he had a good night. We were pretty.
Like Maxi was comfortable bringing the ball out of the back, sitting as an 8. So
Yeah. That's the thing with Noah. Now he can play multiple positions, and he always does what we ask him. But yeah, we might see him more in there. Yeah.
So that is Coach McKay. Curious. First thing that kind of came to my mind as we talk through this now is looking at, kind of what was the overall setup for not just how McKay took on the second half. I like the question of, like, was he allowed to make the substitution changes on his own, and like also knowing that half of the support staff is up there. They all have earbuds and stuff in to talk. So it's not like coach could have easily just been like, yeah, I want Kevin Vang. And you know what we need to know, Jason? We need to know who made the decision to sub in Kevin Vang. Was that a Dave McKay, like coach's specialty choice like they do in the All-Star games? Or was that a Coach Kano, like let the man go in and cook? That's the most pressing thing we need to know.
I don't know for sure, but I saw that he kind of like hesitated to answer that a little bit there, in a sense of like, I think they're not supposed to have any communication with the bench.
Yeah.
So in a sense of like, he probably just said to be careful the way he answered it. And that's not to insinuate that like coach did tell him what to do. I just,
Sure.
you know, it's one of those things.
But if he did, he has to play a fine line. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Shadow, it looks like McKay agreed with you about the lineup construction changes. What do you think overall of that response? And then also, what do you think of the response that to them this was just another match, and it like the New England part of it's not there yet?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it catched many by surprise, because when we played you, we played with our best squad in the Open Cup. We played our best squad against how could you say it? Not so good guys from Hartford. But the thing is, I believe because we didn't play at home, we also did do that. Because we are clearly a vibe and hype team, and our best performances are always at home. We still don't have a single away win. And I would say the backlash of playing with a B-string squad is on a away match against even a higher division side not that great. But if we would have played with the squad and maybe the not so good performance at home, it could be a way worse, let's say, vibe for the fans and overall. So, yeah, like we said, I believe Bombi wanted to focus on the league. He maybe knew that even if he played the West 11, we still wouldn't have be the toe-on-toe match against you. So I'm not really sure how Bobby thought about that, but it wouldn't surprise me to share the opinion of your assistant coach on that.
Yeah, and so did you look like you had something, Jason?
I was just like thinking towards the end now. So the last game for Portland Hearts of Pine is at home with Pittsburgh, right? So you say they're a bit better of a home team. I don't think they can make it out of the group stages, but maybe that'll be a good opportunity for them to kind of, you know, put their best foot forward and at least trying to kind of go out with a bang, if you will.
I mean, like I said, we don't have a single away win. So, yeah, we are clearly better at home. And our best performances, even if the losses were at home, like against you, for example, in the Open Cup, we won against Detroit at home. We had our first ever game at home. We had so all the good, could say, environment, the packed stadium, the vibes are all at home. So I believe even if we lose against Pittsburgh, it should be a fun time. We should see a good starting 11. But because there shouldn't be any pressure left, I'm not really sure. We even there see the best 11. So I would say it's an easy spot for Bobby to choose. In the end, the fans will still hype him and are still happy about that. But I'm more a bit grumpy about that. I'm honest on that.
I'm a little confused right now with the Jägermeister Cup standings themselves. You know, we talk about can the Hearts of Pine advance? Not quite sure. But looking at the overall point spread, it's too early to declare because I want the championship to be the first to say it. But I did some math, and we all know I'm not a numbers guy, but I did some mathing. And this reminds me of exactly where we were last year trying to figure out if Rhode Island FC had already advanced into the postseason, because we had the numbers before championship would confirm it. And using their own rules, they still wouldn't pull the trigger, even though we all knew it was true. And what's interesting is I think we're in the same situation right now with this club. I believe, looking at the table across all of the groups, Rhode Island FC has actually already advanced. Like, they're locked in no matter what to go on into the single elimination rounds. The only difference here is whether or not they go in as the winner of Group 4 or they get one of the wild card positions. By the time we do the Thursday show, I'll get deeper into the weeds. But right now, outside of the winners, the outright winners in each of the groups right now at the top of their particular standings, there are only two teams that with a win could jump Rhode Island FC, and one of those teams is Hartford Athletic. The only other team that has more than 6 points right now is Birmingham Legion, which means that that means Hartford Athletic and Birmingham would move on as the wild cards. If Hartford somehow jumped us, we would just switch spots. Every other team has 6 points, and because of our goal differential now, which is, by the way, set at 6, or no, is it 6 or 8? It's 7. Sorry,
+7.
I forgot about Pittsburgh. No one can beat us in goal differential, and it's not head to head as the first tiebreaker. It's goal differential. So from that standpoint, I'm surprised that the club hasn't already announced, and I'm surprised they haven't gone to the league and been like, we're the first team to clinch. We don't know which spot we'll have, but we are absolutely advancing into the next round of this tournament. So we'll leave it at that. I mean, this interview won't even drop until Monday anyway, so maybe by the time people hear this, like, USL will figure it out tomorrow and say, oh yeah, Rhode Island already advanced. But it's a big moment, and it was a surprising time. Wanu, for the sake of time, move into the next interview with Aldair Sanchez, his first time in the scrum this season.
4 goals tonight after being shut out last week. This has got to be a confidence booster, right?
We know that, the fans have been wanting to see some goals, and, today was a big day to, turn that around. So we all felt like collectively we needed to, work together and try and score as many as we could.
You guys obviously put up 4 goals against Westchester earlier this year, but it seems like for you personally, you've had a great year so far, but this seems like maybe the most comfortable, you've been in a match this year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that stems from the confidence that, my teammates give me as well. Joe Jay at halftime was like, just keep getting on the ball. Just keep getting on the ball and, good things will happen. So I was like, all right, so I just try to get on the ball as much as possible. And, fortunately, it was a good game.
Do you feel like you and him are reaching a new part of your partnership? It just seemed like you two were just on the same page the entire night, especially in that final third.
Yeah. I mean, it's to the point where we don't even have to really look at each other anymore. It's more of just I know he's there, and then we make the plays happen.
You've seen this team now 4 times when you count the preseason, and they were some of the toughest opponents in the preseason for you guys to try to get through. How has the Hearts of Pine kind of evolved in their game as you had to see them now for this 4th time? You've never been defeated by them, but how did this game compare to those other ones?
Honestly, I'm not really quite sure. I just felt like we were just so on top of them. It was kind of hard for them to have any sort of game plan, I think. We just looked really solid, and, unfortunately they just didn't look great. But I give that as credit to ourselves, just following the game plan and playing hard.
Did this game between 2 New England sides mean a little bit more? Obviously, it's the Jägermeister Cup. It's a tournament play, but did this have any more stakes for you guys, knowing how close you are to potentially advancing out of the round?
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, New England rivalry. I think that's pretty big. I think rivalries are good in any type of league. Me personally, the goalkeeper Oladapo is a good friend of mine, so that's a big rivalry for me. And then just making it out of the group stage is going to be huge for us. So just looking forward to keep going.
Talk to us about the tempo of the game. Connor got 2 yellow cards, one going into half and one during halftime, I guess you could say. Did you notice that the referee was kind of letting Portland slow down what you guys were trying to do?
Yes and no. I think he was trying to be a little bit more fair, I think, in the second half. But at the same time...
It was a problem in the first half.
What was that?
You would say it was a problem in the first half?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was times where he'd just blow the whistle for no reason, you know what I mean? And it was a little strange, and obviously there's some calls that I feel like he missed. I mean, there was a clear handball on the floor, but yeah, I mean, it didn't really stop us.
There's been a bit of a goal drought here at Centerville Bank Stadium this season. Thinking back to last week's performance against Sacramento Republic, your old team, what did the team need to do to galvanize themselves to go from that performance into this one? What was the catalyst? What was the moment that you guys said, hey, we're going to go score a bunch of goals and we're going to go get a win for these fans?
I think just feeling that disappointment of, having yet another game with being shut out and in front of the home fans. We all felt collectively like we needed to give the fans something and give ourselves something as well. So we just try to come out here with a bit more of a killer mentality, I guess you'd say, and try and score as many as we could.
Was there anything specific that's been shared around the locker room to kind of get you guys in that spirit? I know you weren't with the team last year, but they call it the Memphis 901 moment of like, what team do we want to be? Was there anything like that happened with this locker room this time around?
I think we just all kind of knew that this could be a big turning point. You know, how much this game would mean, like possibly getting out of the Jägermeister Cup group stage. So we all kind of knew that this could be a turning point where if we get a good game in and we score some goals and we have a good win, then hopefully it could lead up to a bit better stretch of wins and games.
How important was it to see that end pride? You guys had created a lot of chances in games, a lot of crosses from the byline that were wasted. How nice is it today to see those crosses finish for you guys on the wings who are making those crosses?
Yeah. I mean, I've felt like this year, kind of like how you said, like we're getting up there. It's just not getting in. And whether it's, you know, the keepers make a good save or we just miss, it's been unlucky, I feel like, at times. But today, you know, all the pieces kind of fell together and we were fortunate enough to, you know, score 4 big goals.
It's the most fun you've had in a Rhode Island uniform?
I think so, yeah. I think I was smiling the whole time, even when I was defending. So, yeah, it was good.
So, Aldair Sanchez, favorite moment so far, says the Hearts of Pine aren't good. Just lots of different things there. Shadow, what's your overall take on the player's interview?
He's sadly correct. Like if we compare our match versus you on the Open Cup and how we played in this match, for those of you who like boxing or even heavyweight boxing, our first match, the Hearts of Pine looked like primetime Klitschko, whichever you want to have. Yesterday or on Friday, we looked like the last Klitschko match ever against Anthony Joshua, where he just was beaten up the whole time. This was like how I felt at this match. I looked on the stats; it's way worse. Like you were dominating everything. We barely saw any good goal-scoring chances. We made the same silly things as we usually do. Like, yeah, I can't describe it better than we played. Well, we fought like Klitschko against Joshua at his last boxing fight. Wasn't good. Maybe the club doesn't really care because of the league, but I can agree to Sanchez. It makes me sad, but on the one hand, if we lose against a team, I rather lose against the boys in Emma and Blue than to again against the Hartford Athletic.
Love it. Jason, you were in there. Any thoughts, any insights now that you hear it again?
No, I think it, Aldair did have a good match there. We saw the week before too against Sacramento, like where he learned how to cross so well, because Sacramento is just a crossing machine. And it's good to see that they're having a good time in like being happy out there, right? So hopefully they can take this, like I said, we're not back, but hopefully they can kind of take this feeling and say, we want to feel like this again. Let's go out there and play our best and kind of get some results for this team.
And here was probably the happiest player, one Chico, as he went through it.
Of the mountain right now, you talked about in practice yesterday how you had some personal accountability, some personal responsibility. We talked about that with you last week again. Now here you are, first hat trick at Centerville Bank Stadium. I think it's the first hat trick in the Jägermeister Cup this season. How are you feeling, and walk us through your emotions from this game?
Yeah, I feel very happy. I feel very happy because it's been a process for me, and I'm so happy to score those 3 goals today and help the team to get the 3 points. And I always say, like, some things that we can control, we have to do it on the field, like energy, like determination, and the quality will come. And today was a good night for us and for the Rhode Island fans, and I'm really happy for that.
Chico, Congo got ejected halftime. Did that give you guys any extra energy coming out of that half, knowing that you just got tossed?
I didn't even know it. Like when I was in the game, he was just the bench was just quiet. Like when I turned around, I was so kind of on the top. I was like, yeah, that makes sense now. And then Noah told me that he got a red card. I was like, wow. No wondering, like the bench was quiet today. I was like, yeah.
It seemed like, honestly, the situation where you got a yellow card at the end of the first half, what happened there? It seemed like that kind of led to what happened at halftime. What kind of took place in that situation?
I think The yellow card was kind of soft because technically it was my first foul, but he was saying that it was my third. I don't know like what I did there, and I think it was a good foul that I have to take in that moment because maybe it was like tactical foul, and yeah.
I look like you given a yellow card because you stopped a free kick. I thought that's what you got the yellow card.
No. Like look like I touched one of the Poland guys, so he was attacking and I just touched his feet. So yeah.
On the game, how nice is it to see those crosses get rewarded for making those runs, and those crosses were really good tonight. How nice to see both sides come together on those plays.
Yeah, it's something that we talk a lot, like the quality in the final step, and today was fantastic from Georgia, from Maxi, from Aldair. And for the Aldair goal, when he saw me, we just had an eye contact. And then I was like, wow. And then he just put it in the right position. And one thing I have to do is just like,
your first goal was from Maxi.
For Maxi, yeah.
So he played looked like you played like a number 8 role, a little deeper.
Yeah.
How much better did that make you guys where he played tonight and what he did to kind of break up their attacks and create that first goal?
Yeah, I think that's Maxi's real position though, like playing 8, 6, being that guy like free, being that guy like dictating the tempo. And I think today was one of the examples that he had a fantastic game, and that's his game. Maxi can do everything. He can score. He can give the assist. And today was a good vision for him, and he just put in the right position for me.
Pulled up with the knock late in the game there before you came off. Everything all good?
Yeah, everything was good. I was just being smart because I felt that vibration of my hips, and I was like, I need to let the trainer know because I don't want to be stupid and then just forcing and then pull something.
It's okay?
It's okay. It's okay. Everything's fine.
Everything that we talked about yesterday kind of came all together tonight.
Yeah.
Chico, is this your second hat trick of your career inside the USL now, or is this your third? You had the one against Memphis.
I got the one against Memphis. That's maybe the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you compare it to that one,
Yeah.
in terms of your goal production, how important of a moment is this for you in your personal career? You talk at length about you scoring. Hat tricks are very unique. They're very special.
Yeah.
How does this rate in your soccer Mount Rushmore of accomplishments?
I think to be honest, it's just like goals for me, Forward, you just want to score goals, and a hat trick is a big thing to have in your locker. Like I scored some hat trick in my career, and at the end, no one's care about how many hat trick you put. It's like how many goals you end up scoring during your career. Like you can have like 6 hat trick in your career, maybe end up with 12 goals, but you can have like 1 goal like every game. You can end up by maybe 70 goals during your career. So it's mostly about scoring goals, and if I can score a hat trick every game, I will try. So
you'll get to 70 goals.
Yeah.
How do you carry this into league play? Because you guys are playing well in this cup. You're 3-0.
Yeah.
How do you carry this over into league play where the results really matter the most?
Yeah, it's something that we talked yesterday too. It's just those little things we need to do better, like the quality in the final step, like those crosses, those runs in the box. I think the other side we're giving a good energy, like we press well, we do those little things well. It's just like the final stuff, like quality, and this win today is gonna bring the momentum. It's gonna bring like happiness in the locker room, and then we will go with a good spirit for the coming game.
Back to the Jägermeister Cup, the 4th and final match of this group stage will be against Hartford Athletic.
Yeah.
You guys are sitting not only at the top of Group 4, but I think you're sitting at the top of the entire Jägermeister Cup with the goal differential. How comfortable is it? How exciting is it for you and the rest of the team to know that if Hartford is going to advance now, they're going to have to do it by going through you guys here at Center Blank Stadium? How excited are you for that match when it comes?
Yeah, playing Hartford is always special, it's kind of the derby, and we can't wait to play against them. It's one thing that for sure we're not gonna let them win or make it easy for them. They have to know that, so we will go there with a good spirit to get the 3 points.
So that is Chico. I wish that the cameras hadn't been stopped already, but I actually asked a question after the cameras had finalized. And I asked, what are you going to do? What's your celebration for scoring a hat trick? What do you do with the ball? And he just, you were there. He just went like wide-eyed. I was like, oh my gosh, where is that ball? I need to go get that ball. So he ran out of the locker room to go find that soccer ball. I liked his answer though about he doesn't want to be known for hat tricks. He wants to be known for the guy that can score a goal every game. I think that's a great answer. But you can tell he's just, You can like there's a weight off his shoulders over there. Overall thoughts on the interview itself? Is there something like, does Chico take this now and fly with it?
I hope so. Similar to Aldair. Like, I mean, obviously, after such a good performance, they were very happy there. I was just curious. I was checking how he's doing so far this season. He's now in all comps, 5 goals, 3 assists. Definitely, I think we would like to see some more, but I think that's not, those numbers are starting to get up there. We're hope that.
How many assists does he have?
3.
So he's at 8 goal contributions in 19 matches. Those are all competition.
Yeah.
I know he's stacking them more heavily in the Jägermeister Cup, but like that's what, one every game or every other game, just about. That's not terrible.
Yeah, I think that like we still probably just need to like forget about that one kind of fluke season he had and realize that that's probably not what he'll be. But if we can get him to, like you said, like double-digit goals, combine that with some other contributions from, maybe JJ when he comes back, Maxi, all these other different people, like, we could still find ourselves in a really good position at the end of the season.
Absolutely. Shadow, any thoughts overall on our striker getting his way back into form? I mean, you've watched him, maybe asking you more as an RIFC fan here for a second. You've watched him kind of struggle with consistency despite his strength in these knockout games. Overall thoughts on how Chico's been performing?
I mean, striker really have, let's say, a tough and also sometimes an easy job because they could miss 99 shots, but when they score the one important goal, you can forget all the bad shots. I mean, yeah, he's criticized because of his, could say, big name, his big standing, his pace. But in the end, I believe this game could be like could say, yeah, game changer and a little thing that he now is more confident and gets the ball running because, as we all know, goalies and strikers are often, could say, mentally a bit more special. So if this could be like the game which he now uses to motivate himself, I'm happy with that. And yeah, the only thing was a bit sad right now is how good you were at crossing, because I'm complaining since week 1 that my team is not good at crossing at all and doesn't score anything with that. And then we saw like several times you doing this scene, Chico using it. I'm happy for you, but also sad. But no, on the one hand, I'm happy for Chico. I hope he can use that. And in the end, I just wish him the best. But I hope he doesn't score 3 at the next game, because then the co-host of my German USA podcast maybe has a point, because she asked me yesterday if there was already an wanted dead or alive poster in Maine with Chico's face on it. And I hope so, not yet, but if he's continue doing that, maybe. But no, like I said, he's a good guy. I'm happy for him, but let's hope he can do something with that. Because as you said, if it's just one hat-trick and he doesn't score in the next games, it will be forgotten, let's say, 4 weeks when everyone starts complaining again. So let's see how he does.
Agreed. And Noah Fuson, I heard from conversations, he was really happy to get his goal, obviously, too. Didn't love that it came off of the back of now what looks like potentially Nate Messer potentially rupturing his hamstring there. I mean, he went down clutching the back of his leg as he was trying to keep that ball away from Fuson, who collected it and buried it. But nevertheless, this team is back into form. So let's get through these questions, and we'll see if that form carries on through into regular season, and we'll touch back when that Hartford El Clamico comes in. So Stacey L wrote in earlier, why was Kano up on the top of the stadium? What did he do? I think we already answered that one. I think we can kind of move on there from that one. So I'm going to rush into this next one here, and Jason, we'll start things off with you. Joe P writes in, did Kano not being on the sideline push the guys in the second half to put the Hearts of Pine away?
It's potential that maybe they kind of wanted to get it done there for Coach, but at the same time, they kind of already were, they went into halftime on top there, and I think it was one of those things where they were just kind of chipping away at Portland, and everything kind of started to really click into gear that second half. Whether or not, maybe that extra little motivation because they saw their coach on top of the stadium.
I mean, Chico said he didn't even realize it until it was just too quiet on the sideline, which is such a good answer. It's hard to not laugh in those press interviews, but man, that was a funny one there. Do you think, Shadow, do you think Kano not being there is actually going to help this team? Do you think that maybe they just can't handle the Bermudians' verbal abuse on the pitch? Because we know the ref can't handle it. Do you think the team might be suffering as well?
I mean, I think if you are, let's say, being coached by the same guy for a longer time, maybe you are good at blurring that out at some point. You think like, okay, let that man talk. I know what I'm doing. I'm a professional for several years. So I think it couldn't make it worse for them because, like I said, it was a bit quieter there. But at least for those experienced guys, I think they could blur that out if they are not directly in court marks abused by Kano himself. So I don't think so.
Taras says, are we 4-1 good, or did Hearts of Pine make us look good?
Ooh, Shadow, I'm going to let you have that one.
It's nearly 2:30 a.m. and I'm getting depressed again. But no, the answer is both. Like, you were really, really good. Like, I saw nearly every game of yourself live and the rest on real life. I saw way worse performances this year. Like, you played a really good game. On the other hand, if you just look on the stats, it was a difference between night and day. For example, 14 shots for the boys in Amber and Blue, 2 for the Hearts of Pine, 8 on target against 2, just for example. So we were not good at any part. Like, you saw the guys who were starting didn't really have a cohesion together. Players were misused on positions. Like, for example, Jake Keegan, who's still the number 3 all-time goal scorer of League One, barely gets 5 minutes every 5 games. He suddenly started as some kind of a left winger, completely misused, completely had the one big chance where Maxi had the great tackle and could clear the ball before Keegan would have scored that. So a mixture of both. You were really, really good, and we had a bad day and shouldn't be really surprised in my eyes.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is a little bit of both. I mean, the reality is that we saw a different version of this Rhode Island FC side. We were commenting right from the beginning. They seem to be more direct. They seem to be a little bit higher tempo. We've seen the team be in more of a comfortable probe and then retreat. There was something transformed. There was something transformed about this club on the night, and it wasn't just in the second half when the goals kind of started falling, by the dominoes. We saw it in the first half as well. It definitely seemed like there might be something to it. I don't think it's just the Hearts of Pines rotation. Rhode Island FC may have finally gotten back into something that they had lost, and I'll be curious over the next few weeks if we see more of that or if this is just a flash in the pan moment. Moving into the next question here. This one's an interesting one we got last week, and I'm excited to kind of walk through it now. If we win the Jägermeister Cup, is there anything special besides the prize pool and trophy for winning? Would the USL ever set up a community shield game like in the Premier League? Jason, we'll start with you. I think this is a great idea. I love this idea. Do you think we'll see this?
As far as we know right now, this doesn't exist. But it is something that other leagues do, right? It's the Community Shield, or it's the Supercopa, Super Classico, whatever those kind of games that they'll have to kick off the season.
And we should be clear too, what that is would be that the Jägermeister Cup winner in this example, for the new soccer fans out there, would play the championship supporter shield winner, or maybe the actual like cup winner. Wouldn't know how you do it since we have American playoffs here, but like what they're saying is could we create some sort of in-game competition to honor the winners of whichever competitions we decide to hold as the top flight?
I think it would be a real fun idea. The only thing I guess I would look at it though is that you look at for instance, the Community Shield, right? They play that at Wembley, and they'll get like 100,000 people to show up or something for, a one-off game. We don't have a neutral ground stadium, so how would you, where would you host it? And then also, how well would the fans, travel? You know what I mean? Like, it could be one of those things where we might just be too small of a league right now to pull something off like this. But also the USL has shown that they're not afraid to try different things. So like I think it'd be really cool. I'd be into it, but I just don't know if we're there yet.
I feel like we could adopt like a Super Bowl rotation, or like how like the All-Star game is decided, where it's somewhere like the next year's event already, and if you're lucky enough to be the home team, then so be it. But I mean, we'll never have a neutral site. Like that'll never exist in this country. But I think you're right. I think that the mechanics could be done, but would they do it if the fans don't show up and they treat it like the NFL Pro Bowl, and like that's where all the players that weren't good enough to win the Super Bowl go and get their 5 seconds of fame for the season. And there's a reason that we won't even get into it. Not a football podcast, or are we? Shadow, you obviously are very much in it in your side of the things. You guys see this on the regular, back over where you live at 2:30 in the morning. Is this something that is the right direction for the league to go, or do you think that would be amongst the Pro Rel and amongst the Division One? Is that too much too soon with what they're trying to build here?
I would rather see that we actually pull off some kind of Pro Rel before we make some neat little special cups. What I really would like to see, if we redo something like a Super Trophy, let's make it real. Like, for example, the Open Cup winner, the Jägermeister Cup winner, let's say the Championship and the League One winner. Then we would have like 4 teams. You could make a cross wise. So let's say the Open Cup winner faces a League One winner or something like that. And then you have a bit more to play on. You could rotate, if you say, just for example, for sake of reality, Louisville wins the Open Cup and also the Championship. Then let's say the playoff second spot would get the spot. So make it more entertaining than just, let's say, two teams. On the other hand, I would worry about the fans in the stands. Like, you see a drop off already, even in the bigger clubs, which are not that full anymore. Even Louisville has often gaps in their stadium, or Tampa Bay or other teams. Then you would have to ask when they're playing. Is it somewhere on a midweek day? Then you see often, like in other games, nobody shows up. So I think if you don't make it like back in the COVID days, like in a bubble environment where like every team is on the same training ground and plays together and the fans are already there, I'm not really sure we really need that. The interest would be there, but let's say in 5-6 years ahead, the Pro Rel is going on. Everyone likes that. The World Cup, let's say, hype is still there, makes the league bigger, and it actually works. Then I can see that happen. Right now, I don't think it's really useful.
I mean, I think you're onto something there. It could definitely be like a preseason training camp where they're all invited to some place that the USL stands up the teams, like down in Florida with the IMG Academy. And then they could almost just knock out one of their preseason friendlies and actually put it as a game of competition at the end of the training time. Like, hey, you guys are going to square off in this match, and we paid for your facility use. And maybe it's not even an attended game; it's just a broadcasted game, and then leave it at that. I could see some potential for that. We're starting to see more attention in the MLS side of things with like the Coachella Invitational and the one that they do in the Florida regional camps now as well. So I like where you're going with that, Shadow. Moving on to this next question here. Let's ask this one.
Yeah, and so Brandon H here says, any reason why Hearts of Pine didn't start Ollie? They needed the points to advance. Why sit your best goal scorer?
I think we partly already answered that. Ollie wants to rest the players, wants to have better legs for the upcoming league games. Ollie nearly starts every game, plays most of the time, so I believe he should have tired legs. On the other hand, if we would have rested him on Thursday, then it still would make sense. So I would say the easy answer is it depends where your philosophy is. Like, if you already want to rest players and the league is more important, it makes sense. If you are on your mind already don't caring about that, you wouldn't use that. For example, to give you a feeling how I felt on the match, back in my day as an RGV Toros Media and SG member, we had the possibility to win the Copa Terras. which is like the Texan USLNS team fan trophy. Yeah, it was a bit divided in like where you are from, if you care about the cup or not. I thought it would be a good feeling. We had the real possibility to win the trophy, would be the first trophy at club history, and as we all know, the last one. Nobody cared at the club. I asked it at the press conferences, and Wilmer was like, I don't care, we just focus on making a playoff spot. In the end, we didn't even got that. So I think it's a bit similar to Bobby right now. He thinks like, okay, if I start my best 11 with Ollie, we would still possibly lose against your team yesterday, have tired legs on Wednesday, even more tired legs on Thursday. So yeah, he just thought it wouldn't be that important.
I'll be curious to see what happens if we ever create like a New England Cup, like the Copa Tejas. Like I want to see it happen, but in order to do it, what do we do with the Revolution? I think is the main question there, because we're not going to see them nearly as often as we can with these other teams. So that'll be interesting. But
and the fact that we're not all in the same league. Like, there's no guarantee that we'll even see each other that year.
Right.
I mean, we could make a shield. Like, the Copa Terras has also a second cup. It's the Copa Terra Shield, where you have, like, a points per game ratio. And with that, you have all Texan teams. So even the NS sides and the USL side, and then you make, like, points per game compared to the direct games against your local opponents. So this could work the same with the refs. You don't have to face them. But yeah, as you said, but it could be an idea. But it's like I said, it's not an official tournament. It was of the SGs, and some teams liked it. Some teams really embraced it. Other teams didn't care. So you can't force it.
Agreed. Leo O in the Discord writes in, what effect, if any, did Noah shifting back to the free-floating role up top and Maxi shifting further back into midfield have on our shape and play style?
I mean, it put Noah into some good positions to attack and to maybe kind of suit his style more. But I think part of it, if anything, was, I'd say, more tactically and kind of the mindset that they took into this game. Right, we saw them be a lot more direct, and we saw them try and play with a little more tempo instead of this kind of slower, like, possession passing kind of build up, where they're trying to kind of work their way forward instead of like, no, we got the ball, let's just go forward. So, but I do think that, on the night there, putting Noah in that position, I think helped kind of set him up for success there, in combination with the adjustments in regards to like tactics and flow of the game.
Agreed. I have nothing else to add to that because I think it's too soon to see. Like we need more. That's what
like it worked on the night, but like let's see it again this weekend against Birmingham Legion. And then let's see. Mike M says here, Matt, did you notice how many goals RIFC scored? Looks like you get to add another game to the list.
So this is an attack from Mike. Clearly making fun of the fact that I said on the last episode that we don't score 4 goals very often. In fact, it's only happened a couple of times. And so now fans are making me eat my words once again. I'll probably go back and get the clip when I am just, not swamped with other things. But yes, Mike, we scored 4 goals. I'm very proud of the team. I'm very proud of what they accomplished. I'd like to see, kind of to Chico's answer, though, I'd rather stop seeing these high-scoring goal affairs in single moments. And I'd rather take 2 goals a game and, not have 7 games where we failed to score.
Spread the wealth around.
Yeah, like Chico said, just score a goal every game versus get hat tricks. So I'm going to lean on Chico for that one. Shadow, to bring you into this question, your team has been doing well on the goal production side. I don't think you've had as many blanks this season. It's just been a lot of draws for the team. You haven't been able to convert as many wins. Do the Hearts of Pine suffer from any kind of goal production outside of the loss that was on Friday night?
I mean, I would say most of our goals could be divided in camps. Like most of our goals, when we are scoring them, are, could say, magic moment goals. And if we would score them on a regular basis, they wouldn't be magic. So if we don't have those and can use our, could say, favorite tactic, get Nate Messer and Ollie Wright going and make them do something, it's really tough for us to score goals. And we saw that often on away days. Like we struggle somehow, then we are maybe lucky to score one goal because the other team also scores one goal. You have another draw, like against AD Alta last week, against Madison, yada, yada, yada. The second reason why we are scoring goals is because the opponents make mistakes. For example, against Tormenta, we just scored the goal because their goalie couldn't save the ball after the free kick. Like he pounced on it, the ball bounced back just to the guys in the box. Easy way to slap in a goal. So if we don't have like these goals by mistake of the opponents or magic moments, we often struggle to score a lot or even enough. So yeah, we don't have really the typical Zlatan Ibrahimovic who could score on every week and of every game of every opponent. If our guys are hot, they are doing good things. If they are not, you barely see them.
I miss Latan. I miss him a lot. He did a lot for the game. Moving into this next question, Luis writes in, of course, Hartford will force this into a winner-take-all. Does this game become the first must-win game? Obviously, another shot at me this week, but I think I just said my piece to it a minute ago. I think that this game, I mean, obviously, you have to always beat Hartford. That shouldn't even be on the table, right?
I think it's one of those situations where, from a fan perspective and the rivalry and the derby, like us RAFC fans, yeah, we say it's a must win, or at least like a can't lose kind of situation. But also in this competition, it's weird in the sense of like technically you can draw, but then you still have to decide
on
who would win through pens. So yeah.
Technically we could draw this. That's exactly where I was going. Technically we could draw this match and lose in pens. That would only give them 2 points, so that would be 9. And then again, because it's not head-to-head as the first tiebreaker, unless like they can't beat us on goal differential. So I think it is a must-draw match at best.
Or better.
And even then, we're still going to go in. The thing we lose is the home field advantage of the next round, which, as we understand it right now, the only rule so far is that they'll be drawn at random from the 4 teams, from the group stage winners, and then the 2 wild cards are the teams that cannot host, and they can't play the host of their group. So if they stand as they are now, and we both advance, both Hartford and Rhode Island, if we get selected to host one of the games and then Hartford is selected as our opponent, that can't happen. So even then, just by getting in doesn't really guarantee you a home field playoff berth. It doesn't guarantee you anything. So it's like, after this, what do we win? We have to put all of our kind of eggs in the fate basket. But do you agree, Shadow? Is this a must-win game or a must-draw game?
I know I will get a lot of heat by it, but I still think the Kiss My Sister Derby is the better name. But yeah, I think
you just got uninvited from any future collaboration with that one, Shadow.
I'm okay with it. No, but seriously, I think for the pride, like you want to win it, you want to rub it in the face of Hartford. But with a lucky way that even a draw could let's say make it better for you. The pressure is on Hartford. They want to prove themselves, but they are bouncing between bad performances and some are good performances when they beat Loudon highly. So I think the pressure is more on Hartford in general, and because of their fan base, which is critical about the owners and had some struggles with them. But in the end, I would say it depends on the injury list and how your mood is on the game day basis. But in the end, I would say a draw is okay. A loss would be bad, but I don't really think you will lose. At least not if we see some strange things happen.
Love that. All right.
Bob here says, any Draw Kings t-shirts still available? I gave mine to my wife's niece. I'm very much missing last year's team.
So obviously this is written and sent in before the win. on Friday. I don't think he'd still be feeling that way. To answer the question, Bob, just reach out, give me your details. I took that shirt down because it was past its time. The shop, I haven't turned the shop back on because I don't want to just pump out merch. Like, that's not the goal of the podcast. So we've just been kind of like taking a break. We have some really good ideas that we've been mulling about, but we haven't put them back out there. But yeah, I can get you the shirt. Just send me the details, and we'll do it without having to go through the shop, and I got you covered. Let's get into this final question. I'm going to skip around on it because John Q asked, did the Hearts of Pine play a lot of subs? I think Shadow's done a really good job of explaining it already. So I'm going to ask this question instead, Jason. Any updates on getting a Super League team? I haven't heard anything past. Have you heard anything in like the press rooms or anything like that?
I haven't heard anything in a while. Last time we, our owner has been on multiple interviews talking about it, but there hasn't really been any kind of, updates as far as I'm aware. And if I remember correctly, the Super League follows the European schedule, correct?
They just had their final.
So they just had their final. So then also the season's going to start here in 2-3 months. I think at this point it's probably too early then, or it would be too soon for us to.
I think the last he had said is that the announcement would come and all of the build-up work, but they wouldn't deploy it until after things get figured out with the Premier League situation that they're trying to build for Division 1. So they're going to get through World Cup, Division 1 launch, and then the super team. So I imagine the official announcement will come in the next 18 months, but I don't think we'll see anything
for
until
a few
then.
years,
yeah,
probably realistically at this point.
So go follow the RI Rogues until we figure. I hope they just become the RI Rogues, just become the women's team as well. But we'll see what happens there. Shadow, is there any rumors about what the Hearts of Pine want to do in that space? Are they looking at possibly a women's game as well, considering how strong the community is for soccer up in Portland?
I mean, the last time I heard something publicly about that was at my interview with one of the owners, Catherine Cully, who was all in favor of doing that, but she was more thinking about a USAW team as a start and see where we can go from there. But since then, I didn't really hear about anything which could happen, which should happen. But as knowing that we have a lot of, female Jericho Union members, and the interest is there, I wouldn't be surprised if we see in the upcoming years some kind of women's team. If it's a new PSW team in the lower leagues, if it's a USAW team, maybe, but I didn't hear anything publicly or on something new since my interview last year's autumn.
I wouldn't be surprised if you guys get into the women's game before we do at this point, just because if we're taking it slower, and because Portland definitely is behind, the city is behind this team. So I wouldn't be surprised if you guys enter in the W League faster than we get into the Super. But that's exciting. Those are the questions for tonight. It's been so much fun getting to sit down with you, Shadow, and get to hang out and talk soccer. I know that we've been wanting to have you on for a long time, and there's very few times in between where these two teams are going to see each other. So excited for you to be able to jump on. What are any final thoughts, and making sure also listeners know where they can follow along on your journey with the Fallen Leaves, the main podcast?
First of all, I'm really grateful for getting the opportunity, not only because I'm listening for many months now and always hope you have fun with my conclusions, but always, I mean, as I said publicly a lot of time, for me, you are the best USA podcast there is. High quality production, high quality interviews, always informative, fun. You enjoy the time, at least if you have 90 minutes to spare on a regular basis. I'm happy to finally have my place in a small, tiny part of Raising Anchor history. I'm glad to be here. And yeah, the only thing I really want to say, Rhode Island-wise, is I wish this game is not only a fluke, but it will be a start for a good run in the next upcoming weeks, for a good playoff push, for maybe more hypes, and for maybe some more fun Kano moments. Where you can find me is a bit easy. My podcast is Fallen Leaves, the main podcast, which airs regularly on every Friday, somewhere at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and it's only on Spotify, so you should be easy to find that. And if you want to find me on socials, I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky. also like a ShadowWulf. And the easiest way is just to click on anything you post, because there's a high chance you find me in the comment section bickering with you about anything. But yeah, as I said, and thank you for being here. It's nearly 3 a.m. my time. It's totally worth the time. I did way worse things at the time, so I'm just glad. And yeah, Anchor's up, and thank you for the opportunity.
I would apologize, but you knew what you were getting into. You know we run long, so. But and I'll consider bringing you back on, despite the kiss your sister comment. We'll see how we can get you back on in the near future.
Yeah, thank you so much for ShadowWulf for joining us. I appreciate all the support and the love. Much appreciated. But hey, everyone, it's been another great episode here. Make sure to check out our friends over at the Blazing Musket for all your soccer coverage, including RAFC Hearts of Pine as well. And that's at the blazingmusket.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky at RAFC Podcasts. We have an Instagram at Raising Anchor, and there's that website you can check out, raisinganchorpodcast.com. Anchor's up.
Anchor's up. We'll see you guys next time.
Anchor's up.